Okay, so how to remember the plans? I'll tell you one short way to remember. Like you have 1, 2, 3, 5-year plans was there. Okay, and then after this 3 5-year plan, there is a 3-year gap. Okay, so first 3 5-year plans and then 3-year gap. Like 1, 2, 3. Then you have 4 5 5-year plans. Okay, so 3 5-year plan, 3-year gap, then 2 5-year plan, 2-year gap. Okay, so here you will see 2-year gap, and then you have 6 and 7, then this 2-year, then you have 2-year gap. Okay, so what do you mean by this gap and what happened in this gap? Everything we will discuss. So 3 5-year plans, 3-year gap, 2 5-year plan, 2-year gap, 2 5-year plan, 2-year gap, and then continuously 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And after this, 5-year planning is abolished, and we have discussed about NITI Aayog. Okay, so this is how you need to remember. First 3 plans. So 1950 Planning Commission was established. So 1951 the first plan, 1951 to 56, that's the 5-year. Second plan, if you see, 56 to 61. Third will be 61 to 66. So this is the first 3 5-year plans, and then you have 2 3-year gap. So 3 5-year plan, 3-year gap. So what is this 3-year gap? This is what you call as plan holiday. So actually we went for plan holiday during this time. So here, if you see, some of the books will write it as because of war, the plan holidays. It is, war is actually a minor problem at this time. The main problem was basically famine. Okay, famine means acute shortage of food. So there was a significant shortage of food, and we have already discussed this when we discussed about Green Revolution and also in food security. So there was a famine, and it is because of drought there was a famine. So in that context, we have abandoned the 5-year plan here, and we went for annual plans. And I've also told you the context related to America. So US stopped exporting food to India, right? So they actually pressurized India, or they said we have to support their policies. But at that time we had a tilt, we are almost tilted to USSR. Okay, so under PL 480 we used to import food packets or wheat from US, but they stopped it. And in this context we went for Green Revolution, that we have already covered. So here understand 3 plans, 3 gaps. 3 gaps are plan holiday. We went for focusing on food security. Okay, so famine was the main reason for the 3-year plan, not war as such. War was there, 1962, 1965, war with China, war with Pakistan, etc. is there, but still famine was the most important reason. Okay, then 4th plan, 5th plan. So this is 66. Then this will be after 3 years, like 69 to 74. So then 74 to 79. So this plan, 5th plan, is supposed to be till 79. But what happened? Here in 1978, what happened? In 1978, Janata Party came to power, and they terminated the plan. They terminated the plan in 1978. Okay, and then there was a rolling plan. So I have told you rolling plan yesterday, like 78 to, rolling plan will be for another 5 years, but every year there will be a 5-year plan, right? So 78 to 83, then 79 to 84, like that there was rolling plan, and 80 to 85. But in 1980 Congress come back to the power again, and Congress terminated the rolling plan. So see here, 79 it was supposed to be, 5th plan is supposed to be till 79, but 78 when BJP or the Janata Party came to power, terminated, and 78, 79 you can see rolling plan, and when 1980 when Congress came back to power, the planning continued, 5-year plan continued. So this 78 to 83 and 79 to 84, this plans we consider as rolling plan, not as 5-year plan. So here rolling plan. See here, first gap, this is plan holiday, Here it is rolling plan. No confusion, okay? So this 3 gap is plan holiday. Here no plan holiday. Here rolling plan is there. Okay? Now 6th will be continued from 1980 to 85 and then 85 to 90. Then what happened during this time? What is the problem here? Why we went for plan holiday? Here also this 2 years actually.
Liberalization.
Plan holiday, not liberalization as such is the problem. The problem was BOP crisis. So because of BOP crisis only we went for LPG and all, right? Because of the demand from IMF, we have to follow certain conditions by IMF and World Bank. Okay, Washington consensus we have signed, and I'll be discussing about all those. So here the main problem was BOP crisis, and I've told you in the previous session that we didn't even had the forex to pay 2 weeks of import bill. In fact, adequate forex means you should have at least forex of payment of 6 months of import bill, but you didn't had enough to pay for 2 weeks of import. So BOP crisis was the problem. That means shortage of forex, and government announced plan holiday here. So here also there was a annual plan. Okay, here is where we need to discuss about LPG. We will do that. First generation reform, second generation reform. We will do that later. So how many annual plans? Now again 8th plan will be continued. Okay, 92 to 97, then 97 to 2002, 2002 to 2007, 2007 to 12, then 12 to 17. 2012 to 2017. So this is this without any interruption, the last 5-year plans, last 5-year plans actually continued, 8 to 12. Okay, so tell me how many plan holidays were there, or how many plan holidays you can see here? How many plan holiday? You have 3 gap here, you have 2 gap here, you have 2 gap here. Out of which this 2 is a plan holiday, this 3 is a plan holiday. So actually 5 plan holiday, or in another way, there are 5 annual plans, right? 5 annual plans, not 7. Some people will say it is 7, so it is because of 7 gaps. You can see 3 gap, 2 gap, 2 gap. But how many annual plans? 5 annual plans. These 2 were, what are these 2? These 2 are rolling plans. Okay, so not annual plans. Every year there will be a 5-year plan. So this is clear. And why plan holiday and why annual plan? Because some crisis was there, right? Here there was a problem with food famine, and here there was a BOP crisis. Here it is because of a new government came to power, so they tried a different strategy, rolling plan. And what is rolling plan? We have discussed yesterday. In detail we have covered there. So now after this, yesterday we have also talked about, when we discussed about NITI Aayog, there is a vision document, right, for 15 years. And I've told you up till 2030 in alignment with what? This vision document is in alignment with sustainable development goals, right? Sustainable development goal also we have discussed. Vision document also we have discussed. And there is a national development agenda, NDA, national development agenda for 7 years. There are action plans, action plan for 3 years. Yeah, this is what Anjali told yesterday, right? Action plan for 3 years. Okay, so now, so I hope that is clear. So this is how you need to remember. Now what we need to do is we need to take each plan, okay, first, second, third, and we see the target achieved, what was the focus, etc. So let's talk about the first plan. You can give a heading, review of plan.
Sir, how much relevance is this 5 years old 5 years plan when they have rolled out this 5-year plan itself? Now it is all NITI Aayog. So is this how much is the relevance of this?
From your exam point of view?
Yeah.
Last year prelims there was a question. Is that enough?
Okay, sir.
Okay, last year prelims there was a question from planning, not from NITI Aayog. Okay, so 5-year plan, this is something, then if that is the case, why we are talking about liberalization or all these economic situations, BOP crisis and everything that we have done, everything need to be known to you, right? Land reform, why you need to study land reform? right? So all this, now if you don't want, I can skip also, there is no problem in that. Okay, so the first plan from 1951 to 56. Okay, what is the focus? You write here, I'm not writing. Focus, agriculture and community development. So you can see during that time community development programs etc. were implemented. So CDP, okay. So here just write agriculture and community development. So they have given importance to irrigation etc. Which model? Harrod-Dormer model. Okay. So investment was more important. Investment was considered more important. Investment is considered more important. This Harrod-Dormer model I will discuss in some other chapter in detail. Just write it here, Harrod-Dormer model. It is based on growth equal to investment by I-core. I will discuss what is this I-core. I've discussed or not in some other module. I don't remember exactly. I-core means incremental capital output ratio. I will discuss it later. This is coming as part of different other module, okay? So just write here Harrod-Dormer model. So target of economic growth, just write target. Target was 2.1%. The growth target was 2.1%. Is that high or low, this target? Huh?
Without comparing anything, how you can say?
You can compare. Last 100 year you can compare. You know, last 100 year it was not even 1%. So almost stagnant. Last 100 year if you take it, it is not even 1%. So
High.
So it is very high, okay. And the actual achievement, you know, what is the actual achievement? 3.6%. Actual 3.5%. So, so actual is 3.6%, and the reason why mainly because this 3.6%. The actual reason is because there was a good monsoon. Okay, so monsoon was good, so it is because of that we achieved more than what we targeted. So that's what you need to know. In the first plan, we achieved more than what we targeted. You just need to know the focus also, agriculture and community development. Second 5-year plan, 56 to 61. So this is the most important plan, okay, because you can write here focus, heavy industries, or focus you write like this, industrialization based on heavy industries. So it actually laid down the basic framework of economic policy till 1991. 1991 economic policy is changing, but till 1991, from here only the broad guidelines, or this from here the framework of economic policy till 1991, basically this plan. Okay. So just write there, Professor P.C. Mahalanobis. So here heavy industries was given importance, okay, industrialization based on heavy industries. Now there are two types of industries. You know that capital goods industries, okay, and then basic industries. Basic industries like iron, metal based industries, etc. So these are the two types. So here focus was given on heavy industries. So this is based on Professor Mahalanobis model. Now just write there the objective, or why focus is given on industry and not on agriculture at this point of time. And you can see here later in 1966 and all, we are going to face problem in agriculture mainly because we ignored agriculture during this time. But why we took such a measure, why we are giving more focus for, you know, industry at this point of time? Just write 2-3 reasons. More job creation, to accelerate growth, okay, growth and also job, and industrialization is also considered as essential condition for development. So if you need to see, if you see all the developed countries, they all are industrialized countries, right? So industrialization is considered as a precondition for development. So that is the reason why we have given focus for industry here. Achievements, you can write few achievements here. 1. diversified industrial structure, diversified industrial structure, vibrant PSUs, vibrant PSUs, created conditions for high growth, created conditions for high growth. So these are the achievement, but there are problems with PSUs and all that we don't want to discuss here. But you can write the failure here, the main problems: high inflation, high inflation. Why high inflation? Because there is always a gap between demand and supply. Second is one of the most important problem here, that is shortage of forex. See, if you remember yesterday also when we discussed about the problem with food, I have told you we were not able to import. Why we were not able to import? Because we didn't have enough forex. There was a shortage of forex. Why we faced that problem with shortage of forex? Because we imported a lot of machinery. Okay, so there is no technology available in India, so we imported everything. So there is a huge cost involved in this, right? So you can write there, shortage of forex. And next also very important, neglected agriculture. And this affected food security. So that is the reason why we faced a problem with food security in 1966, because of the ignorance of agriculture during this time. Since we have given more focus on agriculture, forex also was reduced. We cannot, because of heavy import. And after some time there was a dilemma that whether we need to import machines or we need to buy food. Okay, now what is the main objective here? Socialistic pattern of society. Here based on trickle down approach. Even here also it is based on trickle down. Trickle down means what? You throw something to top, it will automatically come down. So if growth is there, automatically employment opportunities will be created, inequalities will be solved, poverty will be solved. That is the idea. So you can write, it is a notion, trickle down. Just write hyphen, put a hyphen and write, it is a notion that benefits of economic growth automatically percolates down to the lowest strata of society. Oh, what do you mean by notion? Notion means it's a belief that is generally false. Okay, so it is not actually false. Trickle down will happen, but for trickle down to happen, it need a lot of time. Even the so-called developed countries also, if you see, it is all because of trickle down approach only, but it took a lot of time, right? And we didn't get enough time, and we didn't had enough time also. So if trickle down need to happen, it is not going to happen immediately. It take time. Okay, so here the target was 4.5%, because you achieved around 3.6%, no? So now you are targeting 4.5%, and we almost achieved. So here we achieved around 4.3%. We achieved 4.3%. Rainfall was also good here. Okay. Apart from rainfall, we have also done good in terms of investment also, demand also. But inflation increased. That was a problem here. When the demand increase, inflation will increase, obviously. Okay, so third, you just need to know what is the achievement. Okay, so first plan, it is 3.6, then it is increased. Now third plan. So 61 to 66, 1961 to 66. So here, what was the focus? So the first one, agriculture. Second, industry. Here, third one, self-reliance on food grains. Right, focus, self-reliance on food grains. Okay, see here, when we are giving focus on not agriculture, it is in related to food grain. It is not opposite to the second plan's objective. Actually, it is in consonance with the second plan only. How we can say it is together or consonance with the second plan? The idea is, if you can ensure, self-reliance in food grain, then you can stop importing food grain, and you can use the forex for what? Importing machines. So it is actually in consonance with the second 5-year plan only. Okay, so if you need to focus on industries, you need technology, and you don't have technology and you need to import. So that is essential. So if you can achieve self-sufficiency or self-reliance in food grain, then that money you can use for importing exports. Okay. So here there were many agricultural development programs. Okay, but you will see two wars here, 1962 with China, 1965 with Pakistan, and 3 years of drought that was more devastating. And I've told you, more than the two wars, the drought was the main problem and people were dying. Okay, and at that time from US side also we are facing the threat that they stopped exporting food to us under PL 480 scheme. We stopped getting the food packets and we didn't have even money also to buy food. Okay, so this year was a worst year. So the target was more than 4%, but the actual achievement was even less than the first 5-year plan. So it was 2.8%. So why it was less? You have to know the reasons. There were two wars, 1962 with China, 65 with Pakistan, and also there was a 3-year devastating drought. Okay, so that's the third 5-year plan, 2.8%. Then we had a plan holiday, 3 years annual plans was there, and we went for green revolution. And green revolution is based on HYV seeds. We have discussed from where we have discussed it from Mexico, imported, and who made it, or who's the person behind this? Norman Borlaug, and it was implemented under Mr. Swaminathan in India. So production increased, productivity increased, profitability increased, okay, intensity of cropping increased, like 3 crops per year, etc. And a lot of obvious issues are there, but the good thing is that we achieved food security or self-reliance or self-sufficiency in food grain. Okay, next one, fourth plan. So this is what we have discussed: 1, 2, 3 plans, then 3-year gap. So what was the first plan? 1951 to 56, the focus agriculture. Then 56 to 61, focus industry, Mahalanobis model. Third one, 61 to 66, okay, focus self-reliance on food grain. It is in consonance with the second one only. Then 3-year plan holiday, and we went for green revolution, etc. So now fourth plan, 1969 to 74. So this is actually coming after the plan holiday. So focus, you can write focus, growth with price stability and self-reliance in forex. Growth with price stability and self-reliance in forex. So yesterday when we discussed about the objectives of planning, there also I have told you the 4 main objectives. In that we have discussed about self-reliance on forex, technical know-how, right, food grain, and I have told you specifically which 5-year plans focusing on that. So there when we discussed about forex, I have told you there's a 4th plan which is focusing more on forex. So here if you are focusing more on forex, what type of policies you will see here? Export promotion policies are initiated. Export promotion policies are initiated. So in 1973-74, there was an NSSO data. As per the NSSO data, the poverty ratio, the poverty rate or the poverty ratio was 55%. Okay, so what does this indicate? More than half of the people are poor, right? More than half of the people are poor. See, it is from 51 to it is 73. Almost how many years? 22 years. Planning Commission is there, planning is there. But still, Planning Commission is not able to solve this problem. Or you can say the planning is not working. Or you can say the trickle down is not working, right? Because our approach is based on trickle down. So trickle down is not working because it has failed to meet the social objectives. Okay, so Planning Commission also accepted that it failed in social objective. That trickle down has not happened. So now we need direct effort to eliminate poverty, right? So Planning Commission or trickle down is not happening. So you can see from here different other schemes will come, and in fact this has actually happened during the time of Indira Gandhi only. So this report also came and she used it for her own advantage, and she went for a election campaign by saying Garibi Hatao, okay, poverty should be removed, and she was able to win also election. Okay, so that was the case that I need to tell you, that trickle down never worked out. Trickle down, if need to work out, it will take time. So even the planning commission also accepted the fact that the approach is not correct to remove poverty or to solve the problem with poverty. This rate is very important for you. Okay, so you can see from here onwards various specific programs you will see, like wage employment program, self-employment program. Okay, during rolling plan especially you will see these programs. We will discuss that soon. Right, the growth achieved is 3.3% during this plan. The growth achieved is 3.3%. Now fifth one. So fifth plan, from 74 to 79. And I've told you here, right, it was terminated in 78 when Janata Party came to power. So effectively this plan is from 74 to 78. Okay, so the focus was, as I've told you, in 1973 the NSSO data, it was so high, the poverty 55% is so high. So here what should be the focus? This is how you need to connect everything, right? So this data you connect, and then what should be the focus here? Now you can tell, right? It is a removal of poverty. So focus is removal of poverty. And you will see minimum needs program here, okay? And the growth achieved is 4.8%. 4.8%. Now rolling plan. So 78 to 80, it is rolling plan. So how is it? 78 to 83, then 79 to 84, 80 to 85. But when we talk only this 2 years, actually Janata Party was in power. And from 80 onwards, the normal 5-year plan resumed. Okay, so you can write rolling plan. Rolling plan 78 to 80. So during this time, you will see some new schemes were introduced, like poverty alleviation and employment generation program. Okay, the main first one is actually wage employment program. Wage employment program. There are two types: wage employment program and self-employment program. So under wage employment program in 1978, food for work program. Food for work program. Okay. See, in your module on black money, I have already updated in the application. So actually there I have covered all the welfare and the developmental programs. There is a lengthy video, 2.5-2 hour video, so that I have completely covered all the developmental programs. You can just go through that when you have time. Okay, so 78, this food for work program. So it is actually the first program by the central government. In fact, state Maharashtra also had some employment generation program, but the importance of this is actually, this is by far the first one from the central government, okay, in this context. Second, you can write self-employment program. Self-employment program. So self-employment means what? You will be providing the training. First you need to train the individual, and you need to also give finance so that he can find some employment, his own. So self-employment, okay. And in that context you can write, then in 1978 IRDP, this is one of the big program, Integrated Rural Development Program. Integrated Rural Development Program. So this I will discuss after some time. Integrated Rural Development Program. Before MG and REGA, this was the most or the biggest program actually. Okay, so now after this rolling plan, you have sixth plan. So sixth plan, again when the Congress come back to power in 1980, so it will be from 80 to 85. Okay, so Congress actually terminated the rolling plan, like Janata Party terminated the 5-year plan and started rolling plan. Here this Congress terminated the rolling plan and started the 5-year plan. So what is the focus here? Focus, you can write modernization, poverty alleviation, employment generation. Modernization. Modernization, the idea of modernization is basically, the main idea is basically to improve productivity. to improve productivity. Especially which productivity? Industrial productivity. Okay, so in that context, some other programs also we need to discuss, like industry. You can write under that, under modernization, maybe you can write to improve productivity. You can write industrial policy liberalized. Industrial policy statement 1980 released. Industrial policy statement 1980 was released. Licensing norms were relaxed. See, industrial policy 1980, industrial policy statements, everything we will discuss under the chapter of industry. Okay, so you can see during this time huge investment in PSUs also. Efficiency was very low, so to improve efficiency, that is the reason, that is what we are actually talking from the perspective of modernization. Then what? Poverty alleviation. Then employment generation. So here industrial policy statement and the licensing norms were actually relaxed, like broadbanding, right? Broadbanding means there is no need to take multiple license for the same company. If you have, let's suppose you have a license for two-wheeler, there is no need to take license for scooter and motorcycle, or the normal cycle, right? Or scooter and motorcycle. There is no need to take separate license for that. That is what you mean by broadbanding. We will discuss this in detail. If you have license for two-wheeler, you can manufacture scooter as well as motorcycle also, gear and the gearless also. Apart from that, MRTP Act, FERA Act, we will discuss all these. All these liberalized. Minor liberalization, but liberalized. Major liberalization you will see after the LPG. Okay, so you can say this is actually the takeoff period. Okay, industrial growth actually increased, and this is actually the takeoff period. Second, you can say R&D, research and development. So here, if you remember when we discussed about objectives, I have told you technology self-reliance, right? Technical know-how, and I have told you this 5-year plan. So you can write in bracket technology self-reliance. Self-reliance on technical know-how. Third one, introduction of computers, telecommunications, etc. Okay. Now, apart from this, there are poverty alleviation and employment generation programs. Like the other two objectives, other two focuses related to poverty and employment, right? So, poverty alleviation and employment generation. 1978, we have already discussed about which one? Food for Work program, right? This was extended and renamed it as NREP, National Rural Employment Program. Okay, and in 1983, RLEGP, Rural Landless Employment Guarantee Program. So not across India, some districts, here also some districts. Now 1978 we have discussed something IRDP, right? So it is not changed the name, it remained the same, but extended to all districts and implemented in entire country. Okay, and after
second 1983
Rural Landless Employment Guarantee Program, employment generation program only for rural landless. IRDP, Integrated Rural Development Program. So before MGNREGA, see, we will discuss all these in detail later in the chapter of developmental programs. We will discuss that. Plan 5, it was 4.8%. Okay, so here it is 5.7%. 5.7%. Now 7th. So 7th is from 85 to 90. Okay, so the focus here is focus, productivity, food and work. Okay, tell me, what was the focus before? What was the focus before?
modernization.
Modernization is connected to this, right? I've told you modernization is connected to productivity. Then poverty. So can you say it is connected to food only? Mainly, that time it was in terms of calorie intake, right? And then employment means work. So is it the same? Focus is actually the same only, right? Yes or no? So 6 and 7, the focus is same. It is ultimately productivity, poverty and employment. Correct, no? So here also you will see almost the same policies extended, and NREP and RLEGP, Rural Landless Employment Guarantee Program, National Rural Employment Program, these two have actually merged to Jawahar Rozgar Yojana. Jawahar Rozgar Yojana. In 1985, one more program, Indira Awas Yojana. Just write down these programs only. We will have to make a separate discussion for this. 85, Indira Awas Yojana. Here the growth is 6%. See here now, if you see from the growth perspective from the last year and even before also, if you combine, the growth actually increased, right? So the growth accelerated, but the problem is macroeconomic situations are deteriorated here. BOP crisis, main problem now is BOP crisis. So there is no forex, so the chances of default is more. So the government is actually went for plan holiday, and plan holiday announced. So from 90 to 92, this is plan holiday. So it is mainly because of BOP crisis. Now I will briefly tell you what are the causes of the crisis. So when you talk about the causes, we can divide this into domestic as well as external. Both are there. So from the domestic causes, you can say firstly, high inflation. Inflation was so high. Okay, so inflation was one of the reason. Apart from that, because of inflation, what will happen? Because of inflation, the interest rates are high. Interest rates are high. Why? Because RBI will increase the interest rates, right, to control inflation. So interest rates are high. When the interest rates are high, investment will come down. So obviously, production is reduced during this time. Okay, that is one reason you can write domestic. Then apart from that, fiscal deficit. Fiscal deficit actually increased. Fiscal deficit as well as revenue deficit increased. Then other reason, mainly political instability. Political instability. So if you see from this period, 89 to 91 period, this period of 2 years, in this 2 years you will see 3 government changes. 3 government changes. So 89, in the 89 election, VP Singh, right? Then Chandrasekhar, and then again election was there in 91, and Narasimha Rao came to power, right? So in the 2 years, you can see 3 governments. So political instability was one of the reason. High fiscal deficit, revenue deficit is the other reason. Inflation, because of that production has come down. These are the domestic reasons. When you talk about external reasons, mainly Gulf War. How Gulf War will affect India? How will it affect India?
Oil prices.
Only oil prices? Oil price increased. Anything else? Remittances. Remittances decreased. Okay. Okay. Then apart from that, one more reason you can say it is also significant. Disintegration of USSR. Disintegration of USSR. So disintegration of USSR to 16 countries, right? See, why it is going to affect India is because we had a counter trade agreement with USSR. That means it's similar to barter system. We don't want to make payment in terms of dollar, right? It is a kind of we import something, we export, and we close the deal. It is not in terms of dollar we make the payment. So if you need to make the payment in terms of dollar, you need a huge forex. So here, if it was USSR, it is a kind of barter system, but when it was disintegrated, that system has broke. So that is also one of the reason. Okay, so almost 25% of our trade was with USSR. That itself will shows that reason is more significant. Now, for this 25% of the trade, you have to pay in dollar. Earlier, it was a kind of counter trade. Now we had to pay after the disintegration. Okay, so All these were the problems. And we were requesting World Bank and IMF for getting money. So what the response that we got is we have to pledge gold for getting money. Okay, and overall credit rating also decreased during that time. So in 1991, when in the election Narasimha Rao government came to power, and there was a negotiation with IMF and World Bank, okay, for more help, and they said you have to go for corrective policies like reforms. There are some issues with the current system, like fixed system is creating problem, fixed exchange rate system, you have to go for floating system, like that market exchange rate. So like that there are certain corrective measures or reforms you have to do. So, and we were forced to accept those conditions, and that is what you call as Washington Consensus. And we signed this Washington Consensus in 1991. It was between Government of India and IMF, World Bank on the other hand. Okay, other end IMF, World Bank, here Government of India. So under Washington Consensus, the IMF and World Bank actually agreed to provide forex loans to Government of India, subject to implementation of certain economic reforms, like economic reforms, or you can say new economic policies, and it is also called as first generation reforms. This we will discuss tomorrow. Okay, and this is what you also call as Rao Manmohan model.